And the movie that Johnny Mozzarella chose stars Antonio Banderas, and it is called The 13th Warrior. And I'm going to read a quick summary of it. A Muslim. Oh, first I want to say this movie is actually based on a true story. This is based on, I think, the memoirs of a Muslim who traveled to Hyperborea or the extreme north, Europe, and stuff like that. And his tales of meeting basically Vikings, Norsemen, right? So a Muslim and the funny thing is just to know, and I think he even says this in the movie. He talks about how they smelled, they didn't bathe all the time or something like that. But I just thought that was funny. But a Muslim ambassador exiled from his homeland, Ahmad ibn Fadlan, I guess that's how you pronounce it. Antonio Banderas finds himself in the company of Vikings. While the behavior of the Norsemen initially offends Ibn Fadlan, the more cultured outsider grows to respect the tough, if uncouth, warriors. During their travels together, Ibn and the Vikings get word of an evil presence closing in, and they must fight the frightening and formidable force which was previously thought to only exist in legend. And we're going to watch John's pick for his fave clip from the movie.
Oh, for,
Oops.
it was actually based off of a book called The Eaters of the Dead, and then that book was fiction, but he used some historical context
Okay.
from the the Arabian
Ah,
who
I
was just
see.
writing about the Vikings at that time period.
I
So
got you.
this work is the entire thing is just a work of fiction. It's just based off of some real historical context from an actual Arabian ambassador
Hmm.
um, in that part of the world at that time period. Just to clear that up.
Okay. All right. So here we go. We're gonna watch the clip.
They coming!
Lo, there do I see my father. Lo, there do I see my mother and my sisters and my brothers. Lo, there do I see the line of
My people, back to the beginning.
Lo, they do call to me. They bid me take my place among them.
in the halls of Valhalla.
Where the brave,
They live.
forever.
All right. Did you lose your Orlando?
Mine crashed.
Oh, okay. All right. All right.
I'll be back on shortly.
Okay. All right. So, guys, that was the clip that John chose, and I have to say, John, that was an excellent clip. I think to kind of illustrate for the audience if they've never seen the movie, kind of like what to expect. Because I thought it perfectly sums up what the movie is. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to read the reception real quick. All right. It says the
Oh,
film.
John, Brian, before you start that, the guy who was the leader of the group, he should have been Thor. If they did Thor back in that time, he should have been Thor all
Yeah,
day, every day.
I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah,
It says
bullfly.
the film debuted at number 2 on its opening weekend behind The Sixth Sense. So it sounds like it actually did okay in the theaters. It says the film wore, but maybe it just didn't have a lot of competition. It says the 13th Warrior holds a 33% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, based on 88 reviews. The consensus is atmosphere, great sets and costumes, but thin plot. Which I mean, what? But anyway, our friend Roger Ebert is back. Roger Ebert gave the film 1.5 stars out of 4, remarking that it lumbers from one expensive set piece to the next without taking the time to tell a story that might make us care. I mean, I don't know what movie he was watching. It says, conversely, James Berdinelli gave the 13th Warrior 3 stars out of 4, calling it a solid offering that delivers an exhilarating 100 minutes. Lisa Schwarzbaum of Entertainment Weekly rated it an A and called it the most unexpectedly audacious, exhilarating, and wildly creative adventure thriller I have seen in ages. So it did get some positive reviews. It says, the outcome of the film's production disappointed Omar Sharif. I think he's one of the guy that plays one of the Arabs in the beginning. So much, now listen to this is crazy, that he temporarily retired from film acting. And I think Omar Sharif is considered one of the best male actors in Egypt or something like Cairo or something like that. Not taking a role in another major film until 2003's Monsieur Ibrahim. After my small role, this is his quote, after my small role in the 13th Warrior, I said to myself, let us stop this nonsense, these meal tickets that we do because it pays well. I thought, unless I find a stupendous film that I love and that makes me want to leave home to do, I will stop. Bad pictures are very humiliating. I was really sick. It is terrifying to have to do dialogue from bad scripts, to face a director who does not know what he's doing in a film so bad that it's not even worth exploring. When I read this, I was like, if he's still alive, could see the movies made today. I'm just like, I don't know what he's talking about. Some retrospective reviewers have since reassessed the film similar to The Thing, particularly after Vikings became popular in fiction. Alright, so guys, let's talk about the 13th Warrior, starting with the person who chose this film, Johnny Mozzarella. Give us your overall thoughts and your final rating.
This is definitely one of my favorite movies from that time period. Like a lot of other movies, I'm actually surprised that it was actually rated number 2 at that time period, because there was so many. This came out in '99, so it literally had to continue with, or '98, or no, I'm pretty sure it was '99. Yeah, it came out in 1999.
Same year The Matrix.
So exactly, it had to contend with The Matrix, and what was the other big movie back then? 007, War of 90 Enough. That was a big that was a big release back then. And the only reason why I remember that is because of Mom. Because she loves Pierce Brosnan and she loves his version of 007, and she just could not stop talking about that movie coming out that year. Yeah. And it was funny because, you know, in '99, when all that, well, there really wasn't that much hype about The Matrix. So remember, Reva wasn't even really interested in going to go see it until Agent saw it. She's like, "Y'all need to go see it."
Yeah, until I said yeah.
Right. So I mean, and then once The Matrix blew, that was it. Yeah. It didn't matter what it was or what was coming out. Like it was only The Matrix.
It changed the game.
Yeah, it did.
Every movie after that tried to bring some kind of Matrix aspect into their movie. Yeah.
Now, granted, this is a completely different genre, or whatever, but it just had to contend with that media storm.
That's right. This is before Troy. This is before Gladiator.
This is before all those. And it really wasn't so much the movie. I think it was mostly the post-production. And that's what killed their budget. Originally, the movie was only supposed to be around $30 to $35 million to make. And because there was a whole bunch of issues with the directors and the producers, and in post-production, they had so many unforeseen issues that it ballooned all the way up to like 85 or 90 million dollars. So I don't care what movie you were back then to try to bring in over $100 million back then. You know, once you include inflation or whatever, for 1999, unless you have just all the top stars, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So unfortunately, post production doomed this movie before it even hit the theaters.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing like advertisements for it or anything.
They didn't have the money.
Yeah.
There was no money. They blew it all in post production, so they couldn't. It almost didn't even get released. You know, so that's what killed the movie. But the movie itself, when you focus on the movie itself, and don't get me wrong, I know there's a lot of people out there that are sensitive about Antonio Banderas being cast for this role because yes,
I don't understand why.
He's not Arabian. I get that. We understand that. But
Yeah,
come
but
on,
I mean,
man. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
He kind of.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, he's from. When you look at like people who live in Arabia, and you look at like Spaniards, people, especially people who live like in the southern part of Spain, near the Mediterranean and stuff like that, who were conquered by Muslims, by the way, and it was a Muslim state for what, damn near half a millennia. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see a problem with it. I mean, he looks.
I didn't really see the part. I thought he looked the part.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised how many people had an issue with the fact that he got cast in that role. But whatever. Regardless,
name recognition, man.
They have him in there. Most of the Scandinavian actors, I think they got pretty much all Scandinavian actors for all of the Vikings, and they did that purposely. But you still have to have that one. At least that one guy, you know what I'm saying? You have to have that one guy that's already recognizable. So this is 97.
Since he's the lead too, so
he's the lead. So you have to have that one guy. At that time he was a pretty big actor. This is after Desperado. This was after The Mask of Zorro. So he's an A-list actor. So I understood, and he looks close enough for him to play this role, and he's a good actor. It's like, get over it. So, but when you look at the movie itself, this was a phenomenal movie. Like, the scoring is on track. If you're a big fan of Conan and the soundtrack of Conan, you will absolutely love this movie. Is it at that level? No, because Conan is like God tier, but it's close. It's like you can tell that they were inspired by Conan because it has a lot of Conan-esque drums in it, and it really brought the picture together. Now, the pacing of this movie does move quickly, but that's actually one of the parts that I like because it didn't sit there. You didn't have a whole lot. They gave you enough backstory for you to be like, okay, I understand what's going on, but it's moving. You know what I'm saying? Because it happened quickly. Soon as he arrives, the king is dead. He can't even talk to the king. The king is dead. His son takes over. The very first time you see Bullfire, you understand that this man is no joke. No joke. Because he gets tested during his father's funeral and kills him in 2 moves. Come on, man. Bullfire, he is that guy. And that's what I love about this movie. Antonio Banderas is the star of this movie, right? But he's not the hero. Yeah. I love movies like that. That's why I love Big Trouble in Little China so much. You know what I'm saying? But
you've seen it.
This movie
he's a person that you've seen.
He's an observer.
Yeah.
Right. He's an observer. He's
a participating observer.
Exactly. It's great. It's great. And I think that's what makes the movie so good is because it's shot through a different lens. It's not like, okay, here's your hero and he's going to do everything and he's going to rise to occasion. No, I'm wrong. He does have those moments because he's not a natural fighter. So he has to figure out how to basically survive with these Vikings. But that's what makes the movie fun. That's the adventure part of it that I love about the movie. The action scenes they're not like these top tier action scenes, but they're and a lot of them they're shot in dark scenes, but they're good enough, they're gory enough for you to feel what's going on and for you to have a sense of dread when things start happening. Because when they talk about I forget their name now as I'm talking about it, but they had a name for the people that they were fighting, and they were almost talking the entire time. They're talking about them like they're almost like they're demons, or they're monsters, and they're coming because, huh?
Was it the Berserkers?
No, they weren't called the Berserkers. I can't remember the actual name. I would have to look it up. Like what they were calling them. Oh, the Grindel. They were called the Grindel monsters. But all they were just people that lived in caves that ate other people. Unfortunately, they were cannibals. So
they were barbarians, basically.
Yes, basically. But I love the way how they kept describing them throughout the entire movie, because that was like the fear part of it. Like they're going up against. And before I sent you that, I was conflicted of which scene I was going to show you. That scene, and there was a scene where the camera pans in, and it's the first action scene that you see when they go up against the Grindel. They're all lying in a circle inside of the main hall in the Scandinavian town, and the camera is like panning in on them, like from the top, and you can see them all seeping in a circle, and you hear all these creaks and cracks outside, and it really just oh man, like they're coming. You know what I'm saying? Like they know they're coming, and his character is actually sleeping, but the rest of them, they're fake sleeping because they realize what's coming. Like they realize. I just thought that was a nice touch to show you like he's out of place. He doesn't actually belong there. But I mean, for me, this is a 4.5. Bulbs. I enjoy it every single time I watch it. I can watch it a million times, never fall asleep on it. Like I have to watch it all the way to the end because it's just that exciting. I love all the lines. There's some parts of it that's kind of corny, and you just have to get through some of those parts, like some of the writing. But there's also some really good dialogue in the movie as well too. So if you hang in there, you will eventually get to the sweet spots. But as far as action, as far as adventure, this movie hits it on the head for every single category, and it really just came out, I think, maybe a year or 2 years too early. I think if it would have came out like in maybe 2000 or 2001, I thought it would have got a better reception. And if they didn't have so many issues in post production, I think it would have eventually made its money back, and it probably wouldn't have got some of the bad reviews that it did.
When did Gladiator come out? What year was that?
Gladiator came out, I think, 2003 is when Gladiator came out.
All right,
which is actually the same year that I think that was the same year that
Worse, I think. Worse.
No, it was what's that movie called with Achilles?
Troy.
Troy, yeah, Troy.
I thought Troy came out a little after Gladiator.
I think that was.
Oh, it did? Oh, that might have been 2004
No.
then.
2006 was 300.
Somebody look it up. Real quick.
Oh no, Gladiator came out in 2000, and Troy came out 2004. So we were all.
Yeah, it came out. Well, I was wrong. That's what I said. It came out a little after Gladiator. Because I remember Gladiator came out first, and everyone talked about how great it was, and I missed it in theaters. But when I finally rented it on DVD, I wasn't impressed. I was like, this movie ain't that good. But I love Troy. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. Let's move on to Rotundo 83. What is your overall take? And then give us your bowl break.
I rate this from the start 4.5. Does it have the slow pieces? Yeah, of course. But as soon as it gets into the movie, you are entrenched in the movie. Like I said, what was it, Borgoff? What's the leader of the Vikings name?
Bullfight.
It's like that last scene with him where he's like, when he finally passes away, he puts the sword down and just stand at the end of the I'm like,
oh good.
Yes. It's still good. And like how in the other scene of the guy who had the main interaction with Antonio Banderas, how he goats the giant guy in and he like kneels down, and when he swings down, and Antonio Banderas like, you could have done that anytime. That was the point of the brother.
Yes.
Little thing. It's little subtle things about that movie. I'm like, this is how a movie should be made.
I'll save that for later. All right, so let's move on to. You finished, Demetrius?
I'm done. 4.5.
We're gonna move it to King 81. Give us your thoughts, man, and your final rating on it.
All
All
right,
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
going
going
with
with my
my
rating
rating
first.
first.
I
I
give
give
it
it
a
a
4.
4.
Shoot
Shoot
love
love
the
the
action
action
in
in
it.
it.
Antonio
Antonio
Banderas
Banderas
fans
fans,
who
love
love
him
him
in
in
Desperados.
Desperados. So
So
yeah,
just
just
with
with
the
the
action
action
and
and
stuff,
stuff,
and
and
it
it
was
was
different
different
as
as
well
well
too.
too.
Like
Like
seeing him
seeing him
playing
playing
that
that
character
character
like
like
that.
that. No,
I
I
just
just
at
at
first
first
I
I
thought
thought it was
it was
kind
kind
of
of
like
like
out
out
of
of place
place
though.
though.
But
But I mean,
once
once
you
you
get
get
into
into
it,
it,
the
the
movie
movie
brings
brings
you
you.
in.
And
I
I
like
like
the
the
fact
fact
too
too
that
that
he's
he's
not
not
really
really
like
like
the
the
main
main
character,
character,
but
but
like
like
kind
kind
of
of
like
like
on
on
the
the
sidelines
sidelines
on
on
it.
it.
So
So
yeah,
yeah,
definitely
definitely
feel
feel
that.
that.
But
But
yeah,
yeah,
definitely
definitely
four
four
bugs,
bugs,
lucent
lucent
bugs.
bugs.
All right, I'll give my thoughts and my rating. Yeah, I think this truly fits the uh, the term underrated. This is a truly underrated movie. I don't think we saw this in theaters. I remember seeing it on DVD and just was just blown away by just how good it was. I remember watching. I did get some Conan vibes, and again, the music was amazing. There's three things I think I really liked about this movie. One was I remember when he first meets the Vikings, right? And he doesn't know their language, and they're like making fun of him and stuff. And the transition that they showed to show like a passage of time is that, and it also shows you that Antonio Banderas' character is cultured, but he's also disciplined. And it shows you, okay, this isn't, even though he's from a place that's considered maybe more sophisticated, he's no slouch. And the way they show that was, and how they also showed a passage of time was as they're making fun of him using their language, he's sitting there listening to them as he's eating around the fire while they're talking. And eventually, he's able to pick up on the language and use the same slurs that they're using against them. And I thought that was a really great transition, like how they did that. The other thing I really liked about this movie was it kind of reminded me of maybe King Arthur 2004 or even Troy, where they're taking a realistic take on something that could be considered mythical, even though the source material for this isn't mythical, but the the characters, particularly the Viking characters, believed in this dragon, and they kept talking about it, and that's what you think that they're going to face off against. So you almost think it's going to be like a fantasy film, and you realize the dragon are these barbarian type people called the Grendel. Because I remember you could see like, remember he's telling them you could see the dragons on the hill, and you start to see like these fire kind of light, but it's actually just the torches of the Grendel. I thought that was really cool because Antonio Banderas he doesn't believe in this stuff. He's like, this is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? But when he started seeing the fire, he thought maybe like he kind of like, all right, maybe
Wait a
it's
minute.
real. But then he realized, okay, these are humans that they're fighting, and I like that when they show the Grendel how they lived, and I like how they tied in the Venus of Willendorf, the little pregnant figurines that they've actually found in real archaeology. That they still had like this, because remember their leader was they had a matriarchal society. Their leader was like this witch type thing, this witch type lady or whatever.
It was a witch lady.
Yeah, and I thought that was really cool. The other thing this movie really reminded me of, and it was kind of a little before its time, but it kind of reminded me of The Last Samurai, where you have this out of place character and you get to see the beauty of this foreign type of environment that's totally foreign to him. And you get to see, because he can contrast it with his own, you get to see the beauty of something that's different from you. So it wasn't so,
Jarring.
not jarring, but what's the word? There wasn't a lot of room for xenophobia. Because he was immersed in the culture, he got to, you know, to love it because he got to live it, you know.
Right.
And I thought that was really cool. And going back to what Motundo 83 said, man, that one scene. What's the main character? I mean, the Thor guy.
Bullfire. Bullfire.
Bullfire. When he died sitting on that throne, I was like, yo. I mean, just to me this is a classic movie. Even had a classic score, but it didn't get a classic response. Like this movie was before its time because I don't think audiences were ready for it yet. But when Gladiator hit, they kind of adapted to it. but it was also out of time because it reminded me of like Charlton Heston movies, like old movies of that of the same like Ben Hur, that type of thing. That's kind of what it reminded me of, even with the score. And so it's kind of out of time too. I don't think audiences quite knew how to interpret it. And but I remember when I saw it, I was like, "Yo, this is great. This is a great movie." So I would get my final score, guys. I think I don't. There's not a lot of weaknesses in it. I think it's a five. I think it's 5 bulbs. I, this is a great movie. I think this is. I don't think it's just a good movie. It's a great movie. I think this is truly an underrated movie. You know, I put it up there with movies like Troy, and I put it way up there above Gladiator. That movie's up. You know what I'm saying? I think it's truly an underrated movie. I think it's one of those classic movies that just it missed its mark as far as audiences. I give it 5 bulbs.
Hey, to your point, Brian. Before we move on, to your point, I think the only reason why I may not give it I think Troy to me is a 5.
Hmm.
However, Troy, I think, benefits from a multitude of actors and a much because it's because it's based off of an already written story. So there's more plot points or whatever, and it's much longer than 13-4. 13-4 is relatively short by movie standards. They get in and get you out.
I don't base my
But
rating on the length of a movie though.
yeah, but I mean, you don't have as much setup time. I mean, you know,
I don't think you need it.
you know
I
what I'm
think
saying.
this
So
movie. Matter of fact, I think
like,
one of the problems with modern day movies is they try to make it too long. Like, dude, let's get to it. You got 2 hours of my time, man. Let me get out of here. You know.
well, anyway, regardless, back to the point that I was trying to make. The point you made about how they show you like how he's being acclimated or he's appreciating this different culture than his. I thought another really good part where they show that is I think the second time when they were fighting the Grendel and when they came in attack at night and one of them jumps over the wall obviously and he fights them and he kills them and when he pushes up the bear skull or the bear mask and he sees that it's a
human being. Yeah.
He starts walking away and he starts saying it's a man. It's a man. You know, it's a man. And then he just starts going crazy. He starts killing. He starts killing like 2 or 3 of them. Because you could tell, like, obviously he wasn't someone who believed in all of that stuff. But you can tell because so much almost fantastical stuff was happening around him. He was just like, well, hold up now.
It could be real.
Is stuff actually real? But when he finally kills one, he said, oh, okay, it is a man. Or whatever. I just thought it's like Matundo said, it's like little things like that they brought in that really it really captured your imagination. It really captured your attention, and you really wanted to see like, okay, where is this story really taking me? I just thought that was another part of the movie that really goes into that really solidifies one of the points that you made.
Yeah, I think it's five bulbs. I think this is a damn near perfect movie. I don't see any weaknesses. I loved all the acting. I loved all the direction, the cinematography. It was damn near a perfect movie. I don't see why it was so vilified. But enough of me talking. Let's move on to DJ Dave Darko. Give us your overall thoughts and final rating.
Y'all been waiting for the hate.
But
But I can't say I hate this movie. I equally enjoyed it as well as everyone else. One of my favorite parts was when they said his voice was like a little dog, and he got on and he go, "Hey, I cried. Probably better than you." And it's just a great film. If you like warrior films, if you like to see like films, period pieces, it just did it so well. You know, you're able to see yourself right there with Antonio in the Vikings, and it just brings you into it. You know, I only thing I can't remember is probably the soundtrack, but I'll still give it like 4.5.
I will say this too, Uncle Dave. I think that this movie set the mold for a lot of movies that kind of patterned after it. You know, a lot of movies came out in the early 2000s, like King Arthur, like Centurion, and a whole bunch of movies that are similar. Whereas, okay, you got this outsider, or you have to go to with this band of people from another type of whatever, and we got to go do this thing to save whatever. I think this is like one of the first ones of its kind. And maybe there was something like in the 50s and 60s that did it that this took inspiration from. But from our generation, this was kind of like the first one that kind of did it, and I think it probably did it the best. I even though I do like King Arthur 2004, I think that's another movie that's really slept on as far as how good it is. But I really enjoyed this one.